The role of women in Greece. Greek figurative sculpture. Art continues to grow and progress every day and is constantly changing. The role of women in Greek culture has been the same as all cultures before them for centuries: to make the babies. Ancient Greece influenced how people around the world lived and still affects us today in the 21st century. Many scholars and art historians break down the progression of Greek sculptures into three stages: the archaic, the classical, and the Hellenistic. As the culture continued to grow, so did the advancement of women's sculptures. In Greek art, men are sculpted in all forms and positions. A lot of men during this time were sculpted in the nude, while women were not and were fully clothed. At the beginning of Greek culture, one of the first sculptures of women ever made was the core from the archaic period. The progression of women's sculptures has grown tremendously in Greek culture, with the start of the core from the archaic period, the Athena Parthenos, Nike adjusting her sandal, Capitoline Venus, and the Paris Artemis. Overview of the culture. The first Greek civilization was said to be the Mycenaean civilization, which was founded in southern Greece. The main thing we know about Greek culture is Greek mythology, the Greek gods and goddesses, and the whole family. The entertainment culture, with the Olympics and the gladiator coliseums and the structures and statues that have been built in the course of its time and that are still relevant today. Greek culture has been an influential part of society throughout history. At the beginning of Greek culture, women were always fully draped and always covered up. The women were only made to represent goddesses, queens, and monsters. During this time, as Greek society progressed, women were being sculpted fully nude. Often in ancient history, women did not have much of a significant role other than staying at home unless they were Greek goddesses. So when women were being sculpted, it was not unusual for them to be seen fully clothed and not have emotion on their faces. Archaic. Chorus and chorus statues were marble standstill statues created during the Archaic period. The chorus statues were male statues, with the chorus statues were female statues. The chorus and chorus statues were said to be represented as youth perfection standards during that time. The statues were used in this time as offerings to the gods. The main difference between the statues was that the chorus statues were sculpted in the nude, while the chorus statues were fully clothed in a robe and wearing expensive jewelry. The chorus statues were painted in different colors and styles back in their time, so when it was relevant, like in that time period, women in the archaic period were only known to bear children, cook, and clean the house. In this slide, you will see the Pebbles core. She is said to be represented as a goddess, but we are not entirely sure. It is just speculation. We'll see that she is in a traditional peplous drape dress that they would wear at this time. Her hair is braided back. A lot of her body is covered. We don't see much. And she is like one of the first sculptures, well, not like one of, but like sculptures of women in the early ancient Greek periods. And we can tell that we can only see her forearm, and we can just see not much of her body and just her. Early classical. The Athena Parthenos is a golden ivory statue of the goddess Athena, who is the goddess of war. The statue was dedicated to the city's devotion to Athena. It also showed the success that the leader of Athens got from the Persian War. Athena Parthenos stands tall at the hill of the Acropolis Museum in Athens, Greece. Athena is leading her people to victory. The people love her. She is protecting her city-state. Athena Parthenos is seen standing with all of her armor holding the statue of Nike in her right hand while she has a shield in her left. And the sculpture shows that appears to be goddess Athena on her way to war. On her head is a helmet with two griffins and a sphinx on it. The statue was stolen from records, said to be stolen from the Constantinople, and was destroyed. Many copies of the figure has been created since then. In this slide on the left, this is a reconstruction of Athena taken from the Romans. This is in the Acropolis Museum. It's said to be actual gold, and you were able to take off the gold. It was said to be used for financial issues. And on the right is the original statue of Athena back in Greek culture and style. There's a lot of similarities between the two but this statue did not survive because it was destroyed. But we can see a lot of the differences from the Peplos Chorus sculpture with a lot of armor and like arms being shown, so we can kind of tell the difference and how it's kind of progressing. Nike adjusting her sandal. The temple Nike adjusting her sandal is said to be represent a guardian of Athena's dominance of the people. Nikes are gods and goddesses slash personifications of victory. They were sent down as a way to help. Nikes are winged features said to protect the people. Nike is being seen unbalanced trying to take off her sandal, and she's kind of seen like a little unbalanced trying to take it off. You can see she's holding on to her wings for support. Her drapes falling off. She's looking a little messy because her shoulders a little exposed, her breasts are exposed. The sculpture has confused a lot of art historians because we're not sure if Nike is trying to take off the sandal, tighten it, or put it back on. It changes the ideal statues of women because in previous years, women's sculptures were always standing upright and alert, while in this statue, Nike is in an awkward position and exposing so much skin doing so. So in this sculpture, which is the relief sculpture of Nike, we see her touching on her foot, trying to adjust the sandal. Her shoulders exposed, her breast is coming exposed. The drapes is just falling off. She just looks like a lot is going on. In the sculpture, you can tell that it is different from the previous because, like I said, more is being exposed. So relating back to the Peplos, Cora, this is completely different. Is in that one we didn't see much skin, we didn't see much breast, and now in this one, she's just giving us it all. Late Classical. The Capitoline Venus was a life-size Roman copy of the ancient Greek art Aphrodite of Cnidus. The Capitoline Venus shows the goddess of love fully nude, which is the first time in history that we saw a sculpture of a woman entirely naked. The statue shows Venus fully nude but trying to cover herself up like she just got out the bath and just wasn't ready. Greek housewives did not customarily display their bodies in public, but such was the power of the nude Aphrodite that several women came up, to want to be sculpted. The Capitoline Venus is a popular piece because of her nudity. During this time in history, it was rarely rare to see a woman in nude. It was only men in this time. So in this photo, we can see her looking a bit embarrassed, a bit in shock. She's covering up, but she's in the full nude. And this is a complete different trajectory of what we have seen before because we have never seen the women naked and fully exposed like this. So this is a complete off balance of what we've been able to see before in women's sculptures. So this kind of shows the progression of women being able to being shown and not being so covered up. Like men have always been exposed. The Hellenistic. The Pharis Armidas is a bronze-based statue of the Greek goddess Armidas, who was the goddess of nature, hunting, and the wild. She is the daughter of Zeus and the sister of Apollo. Paris was the harbor of Athens, Greece during the time period in ancient Greece for the archaic, classical, and Hellenistic. The statue shows the goddess having her hand out like she's offering something to someone and an arrow behind her, which we can tell is from her hunting. This dress kind of brings it back to the archaic period, which being called the Peplos. We can see that she's wearing the traditional dress that they would wear in the archaic period. So they're kind of reeling it back in and showing basically traditional attire in ancient Greek. In the sculpture, we can see her in the traditional Peplos. You can't see the armor, the arrow she has in the back, but you can tell that they're covered back up again. So it's a kind of a big kind of setback to what we've just seen with the Venus, but it still shows the progression that has happened. Oopsies. Okay, my conclusion. Greece's sculpture has been always on the move and vastly growing and improved throughout history. Women's role in group sculpture has progressed throughout Greece's history, starting with the statues of Chorus and the archaic period with the long dresses, expensive jewelry, to now with Cavalier Venus fully nude and exposed. So we can kind of tell like the timeline of it from Athena, not Athena, yeah, Athena. From the goddess of war, we can see, a little bit of exposure there, but not too much. And we can see her like position of power. And then Nike, we've seen a lot more body with her shoulder and her breast being exposed, or else the drape clings to her, so we can kind of see the tightness and like the body shape that she has. And then in the Capitoline Venus, it goes all the way, and we get to see full nudity of women and basically throwing off the whole what we had seen in the past. But then we reel it back in the Hellenistic period with the peplos attire from the Paris Artemis, bringing back the traditional values and what we were used to seeing in the archaic period. So we can really see from this presentation that the Greek sculptures of women were progressing. They were showing pieces and pieces of like skin and exposure to full on nudity, and then we can see it kind of reeling back in and showing the traditional values that it always had. And this is just my works cited page. Thank you.